Hey, what's up, everybody? I know I've done a ton of videos, and to many people it sounds like I'm being critical about what's going on in the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book right now. But believe me, I'm not alone if I am. However, I'm not here to kind of rant and, kind of whatever, alright? I'm here to look at the positives and the negatives of this story arc when it's all said and done. Let's take a look at the positives, okay? The positives. One, to many people, you're going to have a lot of characters, Sally, Sonic in some ways, Amy in some ways, Rotor, Antoine, Jeffrey St. John, Hershey, Eggman, Robotnik, Snively, Silver, Elysis, whatever the fuck else, whoever the fuck else, and excuse my language, are basically going to have some character development. Now, that's all good and everything. That is good positiveness there. And there's a lot of characters in the eyes of some that need that character development. I mean, I've already mentioned it before. For Sally, her character development could be one of confliction. Like, let's say, and I want to emphasize when I say these three words, if, when, and should. And the reason I emphasize and quote those words is because Flynn likes to throw us off, so you kind of get the idea. But if, when, and should Sally get restored, I see Flynn, because he has the potential to be a great writer. He's done some great stories. I see the potential there for confliction. Like, she's not sure she could trust herself. Like, okay, she gets restored, new look or no new look, or new design, no new design, or fully clothed, or just vest and boots again. Whatever. I can see a bit of confliction on her part. I can see a bit of confliction of her not knowing if she could trust herself to go on a mission and not make another, spur of the moment decision. I agree with a lot of people. She made the ultimate sacrifice. She did something that we wouldn't think any writer would have her do, and in the eyes of some, redeem herself. But basically what I see, character-wise, development-wise, as a positive, is she's going to have conflictions. No, it's not going to be conflictions of, oh, should I date Sonic or should I not date Sonic and all that. No. Put that aside. Put that aside. What I see is a character development on her that's basically confliction. Again, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself there, but confliction, not knowing whether or not she could trust herself to go on the missions without making a spur-of-the-moment, decision that could probably hurt her or somebody else. Okay? The other thing I see, character development-wise, positive for Sally, could be, let's say, she finally realizes, hey, we've shown enough mercy to Eggman, Robotnik, that enough's enough. And with the exception of maybe villains like Snively, Linda, the Iron Queen, Mogul, the rest of the Grandmasters like Drago and whoever the fuck else, excuse my language again, she could probably be like, you know what, with the exception of all these other villains we could show mercy to and put in jail cells or put in confinement, Eggman's the one we have to finish off. We have to just literally go and take Eggman out once and for all. No mercy, full head on, literally take this son of a bitch out once and for all, get rid of him, and either decimate him enough, defeat him enough to where he won't be able to make a comeback, to the point that maybe a certain zone cop will eventually pick him up, take him to the jail cell in the in the no zone, or literally just decimate him enough to where we could just toss him back into his original dimension. That to me is another positive way I look at character development for her. Other characters that could have development are Bunny. You know, she right now obviously is going to try to cope with whether or not she should be cybernetic again or not. And that is something big. I mean, positive wise, whether she's cybernetic or not, I like the fact that she does have a hoverboard, an extreme board, if you will. And it kind of shows that maybe if she masters that, she can use that as a weapon. Just saying. Jeffrey St. John. Now here's a character some people are very indifferent about. Jeffrey St. John, I see character development wise, is he's going to come to realize that maybe not doing the right thing in his eyes for the kingdom was probably the best idea, and he's going to realize maybe he's got to probably do some background checks next time on whoever he associates himself or whoever his family associates themselves with. You know, I mean, I can understand from a character standpoint that, you know, he feels and believes he's doing what he has to do to preserve the kingdom, yet he doesn't know that the guy he literally helped hand the kingdom over to is just out for himself and doesn't care about anybody. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely see a character development there where he's going to be like, probably like a DTA kind of guy. Like he's not going to trust anyone anymore. Just saying. Unless they're part of the royal family. I don't know. And I also feel, character development wise, he's going to get stripped of certain titles and he's just going to be a guy trying to rebuild and redeem himself in the future. Hershey. Well, Hershey, this is one that people really don't know much about right now. I mean, they're pretty sure she's alive, pretty much sure she's undercover as a Dark Legionnaire. Hershey, I believe, is going to be a key player in the future, and character development-wise, it's going to be a good one. I mean, if you can't have certain characters like Rotor helping the Freedom Fighters, I definitely see Hershey being part of that team now in the near future, and that's going to help her character-wise, and that's going to help her grow and potentially be more than just an absent character that has to hide under cover. And I feel that she's going to grow out of this and probably be, you know, part of the Freedom Fighters if that team's back together. Antoine. Well, Antoine's kind of on the fence right now because we're not sure if Ian Flynn him off or if he's going to probably take the place of being the cyborg or half cyborg, whatever. But this is what I see for Antoine. I see Antoine, whether he's going to be half cyborg or just recover from his injuries, I see Antoine as someone's like, you know what, I don't know, you know, he's basically going to have a little confliction himself. Like, you know, he wants to stand by his kingdom, but is he willing to make that same sacrifice that he made before? You know what I'm saying? Is he willing to make that sacrifice? Is he willing to do it again if he has to, knowing that he could be offed again? I mean, offed in a permanent way. Oh, you get the idea. You understand what I'm saying. To me, Antoine's going to be one of them, like Sally's going to have that conflicting kind of thing with his character in the future. Elizus, this is one that I think is going to have a lot of development. Because I believe Elizus is going to be the one that's going to be the catalyst, if you will, for depending on how Ian Flynn goes with it, it's going to be like the catalyst for change in the kingdom. Like, okay, you know, we really don't need a royal council. We don't need to rule over the kingdom that much. We need to literally give it to the people. We don't need a council anymore that's going to be so blinded to the truth and so easily manipulated that they don't realize what's really going on, and we need to let the people decide. And let them be the decision makers. let them be the ones that say, yes, go this direction, instead of people voting on it. I know that sounds stupid, the way the kingdom citizens are acting right now in the book, but what can you say? I just feel Eliza is going to go in a direction to where I think he's just going to wipe the royalty off the map and say, you know what, the royal family ends with us right now, or the ruling over this kingdom ends with us. He might try that. I'm not really sure. Mina. Well, we know she's got an upcoming side story with Nicole where they kind of confront each other about what's happening. I feel Mina, and she's going to eventually help her out, I feel Mina's going to have some character development. I think she's going to come to realize that she made a mistake, as we're probably going to find out, and that after it's all said and done, she's still going to probably end up trying to get some therapy and all that, some mental help, if you will, which is going to be a good thing, because I think what's going to happen from a character standpoint with her is she's going to grow from that, and I've got a feeling one of the future stories is going to have her realize, you know what, as long as I focus on my music on the positive aspects, and not decide, oh, I'm going to write a song that's, a political song and all that, and let's say like John Lennon and Yoko Ono, but I'm not going to write a political song like that anymore. No, I'm going to focus on the positive, the happiness, making people smile. That's the kind of thing I should focus on with my music, and character-wise, I think that's going to help her out, and that to me is going to give her real development, because she's going to finally come to realize, you know what, maybe I needed to go and get some therapy before, or maybe get like a second opinion, maybe go and talk things out with people first from now on. And like I said, she's going to probably start maybe one of the answers is that, let's say Dr. Quack, who's probably be the one she sees, or even Uncle Chuck's going to be like, if she sees him, you know what, you need to focus on your music and focus on making people happy with that music and allowing them to dance to that music, bring a smile to your face. Don't never again focus on the negative or the political stuff and whatever. Now Nicole's a big one. Nicole, to me, is going to have a lot of development herself. I mean, along with Mina, she's going to, realize that Mina probably didn't realize. I mean, I've got a feeling she's going to accept Mina's apology, because I've got a feeling Mina's going to be like, look, it's just that I've had these dreams, these traumatic dreams and nightmares, and, maybe I should have got help, and maybe I shouldn't, have done what I did, and maybe I should have talked it out first, kind of deal. And I got a feeling Nicole's going to play a big role. And character development-wise, she's going to be like, look, I'm the only one, I'm probably one of the only people, or one of the only entities out here that can, one, help get the kingdom back in the hands of the Acorn family, and two, get my best friend, Sally Acorn, back to normal. And I've got a feeling the character development is she's going to become a stronger character after this is all said and done. She's not going to take bullshit from anybody anymore. And she's going to be probably telling people, hey, you don't like what I'm doing? There's the door. Leave the kingdom. Go live on your own outside of it and see what happens. To me, I think she's really going to start getting stronger. Her character, mentally, emotionally, she's going to be stronger. And like I said, she's going to end up being the kind that's going to be like, she's going to look, let's say, at a Hamlin who sometimes will have an attitude and be like, Hamlin, you don't like it here? Fine, there's the door. Go see how you do on your own. So I've got a feeling she's going to get some major character development during this arc, which would be a positive, as well as afterwards. That's what I see. Then we have Snively. Snively, right now, we know in the universe arc, is trying to usurp Eggman again. And the development I see here after it's all said and done is either he's going to realize, you know what, I'm never going to be in control. Yeah, I might be smarter, but you know what, I should just sit back and let Eggman make the mistakes just like I've done before. I've got a feeling he's going to realize that. I've got a feeling after it's all said and done, he's going to be like, just sit back, just let Eggman do what he's got to do, and see whether or not he messes up like he's done before. That's going to be his attitude. He's just going to be like, hey, I'm going to sit back. You want me to do something? Fine. I'll do it, but if it doesn't work, you're going to know why. And then you got Linda. Linda, who I feel is going to get some character development in the near future. I've got a feeling after this is said and done, whether or not, they're still part of the Eggman Empire or not, I've got a feeling she's going to have development. A development to the point that she's going to be like, either one, she's going to realize, maybe I'm not destined to be a Grandmaster, and maybe, disposing or trying to dispose of my grandfather Dimitri was a mistake. Or two, she's going to realize, you know what? Every time I have an opportunity to be the sole Grand Master, it gets taken away from me. I have it on the tip of my fingers, the tip of my tongue, and it gets taken away from me. So I've got a feeling her positive character development, she's going to be like, you know what? The Dark Egg Legion is no longer associating with anybody. We associate with ourselves. And this is where that name, I can't think of that name right now, the Dark Presence, I guess, is going to come into play. That's what I feel is going to happen. Then we got the game characters. Sonic, Tails, Amy, Knuckles, and Eggman, and Silver. Well, we know they can't really have too much development, right? Here's what I see. I see Sonic having a little bit of development, maybe realizing that he can't be that brash and that arrogant anymore, and that even though he is kind of impatient, he's got to realize, you know what, I just got to sit back, and let's say if Sally gets restored and everything and starts coming up with plans like she used to, just sit back and see what Sal has in store, what Sal's going to come up with, what kind of plan she's going to come up with, and just go with that plan, and don't try to do things on my own. That's what I feel is going to be the major development for him. He's going to realize, you know what, I got to grow up and realize I can't be cocky, immature, or anything, and just go with where everybody's going with. Go with the plan. And then you got Amy Rose. Now, already to me, Amy's got some good character development, what little she can get, as far as 222 goes and everything. And then you take a look at, let's say, 234 and how she reacted to what happened to Sally. I mean, she basically asked the question, what did that sicko do to her? And I've got a feeling she is going to have some kind of role in maybe Sally being restored. Maybe. But I think character development-wise, something's going to happen in the story to where she's going to probably end up eventually fighting Sally in her mecha form and get to the point that she'll almost be on the verge of, let's say, busting up Sally to the point that Sally would be broken apart and not be repairable and probably never come back kind of deal. But to the point that she'll start realizing, or let's say Tails will have to hold her back, or maybe Sonic say, hey, whoa, watch it, you're about to knock her into pieces. To where she's going to realize, basically they got to pull her back and say, whoa, easy Amy, you're about to bust Sally into pieces kind of deal. And then I think character development wise, what little, like I said, she can get, she's going to come to realize, oh my God, is my obsession with being with Sonic that bad? Is my goal to be with him that, am I obsessed that much that I'm willing to take the one person he loves and cares about, that makes him happy and makes me happy, out? I've got a feeling she's going to have that kind of development, and she's going to grow from it in the comics. Not in the games, but in the comics, she's going to grow from it what little bit she can, if you will. And then you've got Tails. Tails, to me, is going to have a little bit of character development. Since he's kind of like the new genius, kind of took Rotor's place as the genius in the group, I've got a feeling Tails is going to be like, you know what? Because I got a feeling this is what's going to happen probably during, I'm not too sure, but during and mostly after the story arc, that he's going to come to realize, you know what? If we're going to prevent our friends from being roboticized, we need to come up with a solution that blocks everybody from being roboticized. And not just, and maybe what will happen is he'll probably get information from his parents of how the de-robotization occurred over on the Beam world and all that. Maybe, I'm not sure. Or maybe he'll study what information he's got from the Beam. Because he and Flynn could probably throw that in. But development-wise, character development-wise, I think he's going to grow in intellect, and he's going to probably build some kind of device that he's going to put on the freedom fighters, if they get together, back together as a team, Sally, you know, basically all together again as a team, some kind of device that's going to prevent roboticization, and eventually he's going to end up building a fully functional, or probably along with the help of Nicole, a fully functional de-roboticizer, just in case robotization does happen, and a de-legionizer, in case legionization happens. That's what I feel is going to come character-wise. Knuckles. I think he's just going to stay the same a little bit. I think he's going to be more, he will be more active, there's no doubt about that. I feel he's going to probably be the character that's like, you know what, I can't just be mad, because right now we know him, and some say Julie Stu have a little bit of a, anger towards Sonic for what happened to Sally, but eventually I feel he's going to play a major part in her being restored as well, or at least in the episodes leading up to it, and not episodes but issues leading up to it, I'm sorry, and he's going to realize, you know what, characterized after it's all said and done, he's going to look at Sonic, maybe have a discussion like they said in, like maybe in Brave New World, and he's going to be like, not Brave New World, but in one of the issues, I don't know what, issue 52, 51, I'm not really sure, and he's going to be like, you know what, man, it wasn't your fault, Sally did have to do what she had to do, I don't blame you really now that I think about it, she was just doing what she had to do, probably what Julie, and he'll probably say something like, and perhaps if Julie, maybe what Julie Sue would have done in her place, because you got to realize, I've got a feeling Ian's going to have Knuckles remember, oh yeah, I sacrificed myself to save my friends and family one time. And then you got Silver. Silver, I believe, is going to be have some character development, especially starting with Secret Freedom Fighters. That after it's all said and done, he's going to realize either him going back to the past isn't always such a good idea, or he's going to realize that yeah, there was a traitor, but the traitor was against their own will. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to have development to where he's either going to realize he can't really, perhaps he won't be able to trust a word his mentor, Mammoth Mogul, says, or that he's going to realize that there's more to certain things than meets the eye, and that perhaps you can't change, perhaps what has happened in the past, you can't change in the future. That even though you could change the past, the future won't always change, and that's always going to be another reason for things happening. So he's going to kind of like play the role of, like say Bishop did in the X-Men cartoon series. But I got a feeling his character development will be like, you know what, I can't, his character development is going to be more of the fact that, yeah, I'm here to prevent things from happening, but I got to think things out first before I really think things out and research really well before things happen, and try to find out the real truth, if you know what I'm saying. So, and that's the kind of development I think he can have. The negatives. Well, the negatives, and well, first of all, before we get in, the overall positive influence on this story is it could have a positive impact after it's all said and done, with the freedom fighters realizing, you know what, we can't rest on our laurels anymore. We can't celebrate as much as we want to, or think, oh, we could just have a day off. We always got to be on our guns because we never know what's going to happen. So I think basically after this is all said and done, they're going to, just be ready day in and day out because they'll never know what's going to happen. That, I believe, character-wise, overall, is going to be a positive. I know some people may not like hearing that, but that's what I feel is going to happen. But now we take a look at the negatives. The negatives are that this won't have much of an impact. That this will be like the Iron Dominion arc. It'll go for as long as it has to, which apparently looks like it could go beyond 250 and into 275, maybe even before that. But the negative impact is it won't be too memorable. That basically it'll be dragged on and people will get sick and tired of it, and they'll be like, come on. I mean, even those that are supporting Ian and what he's doing right now will be eventually, and I know they may disagree right now, but eventually they'll be like, come on, end this thing. When are we going to get a bigger story? When are we going to get something here? They're going to want some kind of answer eventually, folks. That's one of the negatives, is people are going to get sick and tired of it, in their eyes, dragging on and on and on and on and on and on, and just want it to end. Another negative is if this whole thing turns out to be nothing more than a nightmare that Sonic's having. I know that sounds crazy, but the way people are describing the fact that little by little Ian Flynn's kind of throwing in influences and references and small adaptations or related adaptations of his webcomic into the book, into the comic itself, what many people are afraid of on a negative standpoint is this whole thing's going to be nothing more than a nightmare, and that the payoff's going to be for nothing. That's what many people feel is the major negative right there. One of the other major negatives is going to be all for nothing because it might turn out to be nothing more than a nightmare, a profit nightmare or dream that Sonic's having. Again, I know that sounds crazy, and that's probably not possible, but you never know. And if that's the fact, and if that's the case, that will be a huge negative impact. Another negative impact is you'll just go back to the same routine. You know, Sally gets restored, she's back to normal, new outfit or not, the Freedom Fighters are back together, and they just go back on the regular missions like nothing happened. That's a negative impact. Because that would be a negative impact in the eyes of some, because it'd be just like, well, they won the war, they beat Eggman, they overdid it, they got Sally back, right? Which is cool, which will be cool, but then again, it's just back to business as usual. It'll be just like the cycle repeating itself. And no characters are going to get much development. That is the negative, one of the negatives they're looking at. And another negative is, you know, the climax. Well, not the climax, but another negative, because the climax would have been the nightmare. But, well, it is the climax. That is the big negative right there, is the climax. Whether it's a nightmare or not, is how big the climax, the payoff, is going to be. Is it going to be a big climax? Is it going to be a big payoff? Or is it going to be a letdown? And that's what a lot of people are afraid of. It's going to be a letdown. It's going to be all for naught. Whether it's a nightmare or not, whether it's really happening, they feel the letdown. They feel, many are afraid, and this could be the big negative, felt after it's all said and done, that it'll be all for naught. It'll be all for naught. There's this whole build-up and everything, and will be all for naught. Another negative is if it turns out that the only way... Another negative is how things could be restored. I know that sounds like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? That's a positive, not a negative. Let me explain. A negative is if the solution ends up being time travel, which many people, even myself, have said, along with the nightmare scenario, is one of the probabilities. Because let's say Sonic is able to go back in time. He's able to stop Sally from being roboticized. Or even go beyond that and stop the Death Egg Mark II from launching. Basically the fact is, folks, that's a major negative to them, because they'll feel like, oh, all he has to do is go back in time now and that's it? And prevent the Death Egg from launching? Big whoop. What impact is that going to have? You know? The thing is, and the one major thing is the character development. I mentioned it briefly, just a few negatives ago, but the character development, a lot of people feel, is going to be for naught. They're going to feel that what you got right now with the characters going through the situations that they are, the good guy characters and the villains, that it's going to be all for naught. That there will be no character development after it's all said and done, and the characters are going to go back to the way they were. And if you're, let's say, a Sally hater, you're going to feel it's going to go back to Sally and Sonic being the main focus. Which I would believe would be a good thing, honestly, because yeah, I do support the coupling and pairing, but take a look at the VHS covers back in the 90s. You'll see who's on the cover there. And it kind of tell you something. But basically they will feel that there will be no character, that all the character development now is going to be for naught, and there won't be no more character development afterwards. So overall, those are just the positives and negatives I feel this current story arc in the comic could have after it's all said and done. So comment down below, give me a video response if you like, and I'll talk to you all later.